The next UK government will be the last UK government with the power to implement real climate action before 2030. A big part of that climate action that we're already hearing about is the race to net zero. And this is going to affect everything from the country as a whole, to the private sector, to the businesses where we work, the businesses that we run, and the businesses that we buy from as consumers. Today, I'm really excited to be kicking off Britain's biggest sustainability campaign and the first of our live streams with a business that is really central in that fight for reaching net zero and achieving that real climate action. Elliot Coad is the founder and CEO of Ecologi, one of the biggest private funders of climate action, and a UK business that is really bringing sustainability and net zero education in particular to the wider community and to the businesses that need to meet those net zero targets. So tell us about Ecologi.
So Ecologi we set up just 4 years ago, and it was on the idea that that anyone individually or a business can do much more for the climate and nature. And we just wanted to get more out of everyone. And so we started off as a subscription service to help people reverse climate change, just like a Netflix or Spotify subscription that you'd sign up to, but funds all sorts of incredible climate action. And then since then, we have just found a multitude of ways that businesses especially can get behind incredible restoration projects. We just couldn't be any more proud of the community that we have, that we're able to, we're essentially bringing good people and good businesses together. And that's just so satisfying. So we've got about 30,000 individuals and families all funding high quality restoration projects. And there's 19,500 businesses now that we're working with on their entire climate journey. Whereas before we were really good at helping businesses find impactful projects to fund, restoring forests, all sorts of renewable projects and community projects too that end up with less carbon in the atmosphere. But the bigger part of the climate journey is understanding carbon emissions, setting targets, making direct reductions.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to talking to you more about the net zero and the exciting tools that you're launching and the work that you're doing in that space. Can you tell us a bit about your role at Ecologi and really your motivation for going on this journey and starting this company?
I was the original founder. I was working in London. I was working a technology job, and on the way into work, there was one morning where I had my must be 2000th coffee, from a coffee shop on the way into work. Not that day, over the years, and realized how much I'm probably spending on these coffees, and how I spent no money at all on the thing I'm actually really concerned about. And I wondered, what if I put some of my pocket change into funding some of that climate action? And so that's how it started. But it was a really easy team to set up because my wife is also this amazing brand and design and illustrator, very skillful person. Finding the drive in the early days was easy enough to do, but the body doesn't want to handle all the stresses of a startup.
Absolutely. And I think that really highlights how you can't just do this journey on your own. It is interconnected.
But with climate, there's no end of drive. There's no end of kind of reasons to keep on going, even like family and see something in the news, or there'd just be random points where I'd see just like a beautiful bird and singing the most incredible bird song, and it'd make me kind of like want to work harder, just little mini pockets of motivation. And I think when you get really locked into the cause, everything is a reminder, and thank goodness we've got that, because you need it. It's it's kind of almost like a fresh hell trying to create a company. It's unbelievable, and I feel glad to be able to just have those kind of daily reminders to be able to keep on working at it. But it brings you so much fulfillment.
Absolutely. And you're really on the forefront of both sides of that. You see the science in your daily life and in your work, and you see these reports and you see what's coming. And on the flip side of that, you see the action that businesses are taking and that individuals are taking, and you see these really impactful projects on the ground. So what keeps you feeling empowered and motivated in the face of, the kind of the doom and gloom narrative that is out there?
Incremental gains, will be eventually the success that we're looking for. Climate will be solved through millions and millions of tiny, tiny steps. And we can't lose focus on those little micro actions will one day ladder up to something that we're looking to achieve. Conquering that mountain is made up of little tiny footsteps that get you there.
So you're launching and in the process of testing Ecologi Zero. Tell us about that tool and how that's going to help that journey for businesses.
So Ecologi Zero, it helps businesses get their foot onto the ladder, on the climate ladder, without needing an internal expert, like a sustainability expert, just someone who has that bit of passion, that bit of kind of curiosity. There are too many barriers, there are too many reasons as to why we're not making progress. The cost of something like this is a barrier. The skills, of understanding carbon footprint tend to be a barrier, and trust is a barrier. And we try and knock all three of those on their heads.
And why is net zero important?
Net zero is limiting our damage today, and it is also able to limit the damage long term too. It's a single idea that we can get behind. And so this is why at Ecologi, we've removed those barriers that businesses have to getting on the net zero journey. We've essentially democratized it by making it free. There are no businesses that have any reason anymore to not get on that climate journey.
Yeah, and it's such tough times, particularly for SMEs. And obviously, like you alluded to, we've had the pandemic, we've had kind of climate coming up the priority in terms of awareness and in terms of the scientific data we're seeing and the reports about when we're going to hit 1.5. But at the same time, the current cost of living crisis, the kind of if after effects of the pandemic that's still going on, and every challenge that the SMEs are having to kind of weather, it's really important that we make this as easy and as accessible for them as possible. Obviously, for you at Ecologi, you are a business yourselves, you're on that journey yourselves. It's maybe not necessarily the most kind of commercial decision to make this free, but it's really admirable and important in terms of achieving net zero. So, what was the motivation behind coming back from COP26 and being involved in those conversations and then doing that rethink about this tool and about the subscription model and really the decision to take that free?
If we can make it super simple, like the world's best tools, anyone can use it. My gran could use it, sort of. And then, imagine if it was free as well, where, carbon footprinting for small businesses especially is really expensive. And with technology and what we've done, which is using technology to leverage a lot of the hard work that the specialists would have had to do in the first place, it means that actually we can provide that for free. And when I came back from COP26, the climate conference 2 years ago in Glasgow, I was just overwhelmed with like a renewed urgency and thinking, well, if we're building this net zero tool, then we're not going to really get there fast enough if we're still charging £100, £200 a month for it for each company. And so we just changed it around to make it free. And so any business can measure their carbon footprint, and any business can start the net zero journey. And we're really proud now that we've been able to, address a lot of those kind of major barriers, really. And we've partnered with the most amazing carbon expert called Professor Mike Berners-Lee, and he's given us the real confidence now to totally take it out to the world and see what we can do with it.
And if we zoom out to that at a national level, can we talk about why it's important in sort of the political landscape and thinking as a country rather than as individuals, as businesses? What is the importance of net zero on the political agenda?
Trust and maybe kind of confidence in what you're doing is the right thing. And so there's this kind of widespread lack of certainty or education. And so the science is already set. We have the climate solutions themselves. They're ready to go and be scaled and funded. There's a framework that shows how a business can reduce their carbon footprint. And, we adopted that. But the kind of education aspect is not there yet. And so, for Ecologi, we spend a lot of our time essentially helping other businesses understand that your idea of the climate journey is actually not as hard, not as expensive, and not as complicated as what you perceive it to be. And so we are just trying to find those little mini entry points, those little moments where we can get you hooked in, and then we can kind of nudge you along the journey. You don't need the experts, you don't need any money, you just need just that little bit of curiosity to see what you could do in helping your business for the planet.
So Ecologi really embeds gamification and that positive reinforcement, and uses that to bring other people onto the platform and create that friendly competition around creating impact. And from a behavior change perspective, that's obviously really, really significant in terms of adding in the fact that these solutions exist, you can support them, and that incremental impact is the way to really get where we need to be. Can you just revisit for me and talk a little bit about what gamification does in that context and how it helps create that positive reinforcement?
Gamification is a very powerful motivation. It's this kind of little bit of competitiveness that we have in ourselves, whether we're thinking about our own personal development, we want to kind of level up to the next challenge, or whether it's our business that's down the road that we want to do just slightly more than they're doing. It's this amazing motivator. If we can use that where we're all hardwired in the brain, but apply it to the world of climate and nature restoration, when we crack that, something really fantastic is going to happen.
Achievable impact is what Ecologi does, and democratizing that education and that impact piece. What do you think are the priorities for the next government to achieve net zero by 2030, and the wider context around climate and nature and these core issues? Where should they be putting their energy? What should they be focusing on?
Not just talk about net zero in 2 decades time, but what's happening in the next 12 months. And I think that's going to have a real positive effect to be able to see action happening right now. Really, we're looking for the government at the policy level to make those actions just flow even easier. We're looking for the government not to talk about things in 2 decades time, but talk about what we can do in just 1 year's time. We're looking for policy changes that aren't little steps, but meaningful change that really unlocks the kind of collective opportunity that we have as individuals.
One of the things that I always come up against, and I get asked this all the time, and I'm sure you do as well, is that contrast between individual action and systemic change, and people saying, does individual action actually make any difference? What are your thoughts on that? And where do you think that sits in the context of the fact that, we've just had this news that we're going to hit 1.5 by 2027, and we really need to ramp up action now?
Quite honestly, those incremental gains at the policy level are really what's the foot on the brake. So it has to be much more widespread, but you got to do it in a way that doesn't break the system. It has to break it a little bit, but allow some transition from where we are today. But it can't be measly. It has to be meaningful.
Thank you so much, Elliot. It's been really insightful to hear what Ecologi is doing to help everyone on their net zero journey. If you would like to find out more about Ecologi and Ecologi Zero, then head to ecologi.com. And if you are watching this on any of the Ecologi channels or as it goes out live, then do come over and join us on Twitter. Make your voice heard right now and learn more about net zero using the hashtag Ethical Hour. We're there every Monday night at 8 p.m. and we will be exploring a different topic as part of Britain's biggest sustainability campaign every Monday. And if you would like to get involved in the campaign and you haven't signed up yet, then do visit ethicalhour.com and check out the 1.5 for 1.5 campaign.